All right. Yeah, I know. This fuel tank has a dent in it. Happened before. Fell over on the trip home. It didn't even have any miles on it. Sad, sad, sad. It's been there the whole time. That's a story for another day. Yeah, this is going to be just a do-it-yourself video to help anybody out. I know there's a bunch of videos out there, but it might be better if I do this specifically on the Vulcan 650 for, you know, talk to some people on the Facebook, on the forums. Getting into motorcycling, probably a little wary of the throttle. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to capture this with this camera, but you see this right here? You can adjust the throttle free play with this right here. And typically about that distance is fairly normal. I don't know, 2 millimeters might be the stock setting, so this might be just a tad more. It'll give you some free play to help you out. Adjusting this, what you'll do is, I'm not going to do it because I got it where my wife wants it. You loosen this little thing up. That's going to be counterclockwise if you're looking at it this way. And then you're going to either tighten that in or loosen it up to either increase the free play or the, yeah, just how much room you have to play with on the throttle here. And then, you know, you'll tighten it back against this thing right here, which is what you'll use to actually adjust it. But I don't know, I think out, if you adjust it out, and I may be wrong on this, it might be increasing. So if I'm wrong, somebody correct me and help others, please. And Ian, I think, would decrease or increase the free play in the throttle. Brand new though, every bike is going to feel stiff. Even the throttle, sometimes it's jerky, but over time it's going to loosen up. However, on the Kawasaki here, a lot of times when you first ease on that throttle, if you're a new rider, I mean, if this is the very first bike you've ever rode, you never rode a little 250 or 125 to get started, this throttle has kind of an on and off thing. It's maybe a tenth of a second. I think I said a quarter second in another video. You'll be kind of easing on it, and then it'll seem like it's not doing nothing, and then all of a sudden it goes. It's something you just have to kind of get used to. And it's a thing with Kawasaki too, I think. And there's probably other manufacturers have that issue as well. It's just something that's there. But as far as getting used to it, whoops, oh yeah, kickstand. Yeah, don't do what I just did. My little sensor over here is messed up, I think, on my clutch. Yep. So I'm in first gear. As far as getting used to the throttle sensitivity, I think first off you should get used to the friction zone of the clutch. Now you can even see the wire moving here. And watch me ease off this clutch. I mean, I'm not moving the bike. Got my other hand. See, that's where the bike starts pulling. And when that bike starts pulling, this is without giving any throttle. And then see, you can pull the clutch back in to reduce the throttle if you want to. Like if you accidentally give it too much throttle over here when trying to take off, you don't have to keep going out on the clutch. You can come back in and adjust, you know what I'm saying, and you just get used to that feel. See, ease out, moves forward on its own. Ease out, moves forward on its own. You kind of just get used to taking off a little bit. See, I'm not even giving any throttle. This is just easing off with the clutch, and then I'm moving. So pretty simple. I would go to a parking lot, a wide open driveway, wherever you got to practice, wherever you got room to practice, to just get used to that clutch. If you're a new rider, get used to that clutch grabbing and rolling forward, and that being where you take off. Because then once you're really good at that, you will slowly ease the throttle in, see, and you can take off a little quicker. And I mean, initially you're not going to want to take off quick. Taking off quicker is something you'll learn so that you get to where you can drive in more populated areas, so you can get used to pulling out in traffic and all that stuff. Well, not pulling out into traffic, but you know what I mean. Getting out and getting going so that you don't hold traffic up. So, real simple, and it's something I would just practice for new beginners. I mean, it could take a week, could take several weeks of just easing off the clutch. I mean, real simple. And also, play with the throttle. You could just sit here in neutral, put the bike in neutral. Sit here and play with the throttle. Get used to where, see, I know it'll go up to 4,000 RPM because it's got no resistance, so that seems like a lot of throttle, but it's not really. It's just where there's no resistance on the motor and it's able to spin freely, so it don't take much gas for that motor to keep building and climbing. But see, you see where that throttle, about how much gas or how much pull equates to how much throttle you're giving the bike. For me though, I feel like this bike's pretty forgiving. It's a little freaky at first, that on-off thing, but it's not too bad. Once you get used to it, it's not too bad. It's not that big a deal. You'll get used to it quick once you start riding, trust me. But also, the more you ride, the more you practice, this throttle is going to, the whole bike, everything, the motor, the cables, everything's going to loosen up and settle in. Even the motor is going to smooth out because all the pieces are going to get lubricated and kind of seat into place like where they're supposed to be. Yeah, you can look up technical explanation of motors getting smoother over time and bikes and all that stuff. I'm not an expert on that. I just know based on feel. But yeah, like I said, clutch, easing off, it goes forward, pull it back in, easing off, get used to where it grabs at. And so I see a problem with a lot of people that have never rode a bike or a manual transmission. I mean, it's just like a car, except you're using your hand to manipulate the clutch instead of your foot. If you've ever done it in a car, which I know a lot of people haven't. But you ease off and see it starts going. But when it starts going, a lot of people, they want to jump off of it. You know, they're like, see, and that happens. You don't, yeah, that's not what you want to do. The goal is to ease off the throttle, or I mean the clutch, excuse me. And then later on, like I said, you'll build the throttle in. Ease off the clutch. See, I'm still on the clutch. I still got, and then I never even came fully off the clutch yet. A lot of times I won't be fully off the clutch until I'm maybe 4 or 5 miles an hour. I mean, depending on the bike, it's different with every bike and the gearing and stuff. But yeah, I won't be off the clutch until all the way, you know, until I'm rolling pretty good, because that allows me leeway that I can pull that clutch back in. If I need to stop, I can pull that clutch back in and you know, not kill the bike and just stop. But as far as the throttle, I mean, that's just something you're going to get used to. Make sure you wear proper attire when riding, not like what I'm doing right now. Normally I always would wear pants and stuff like that. But yeah, it's kind of got this, and it's worse, it seems to be worse in the lower gears because, you know, the lower gears are just going to be more jerky, period. But yeah, it has a, see, it has, you see that shutter, that on-off throttle application when easing on the throttle. See, there it went again. That I might not pick it up on video, but there's like a shutter, like a kind of a freaky, where it seems like it's not doing nothing, then all of a sudden it goes. I mean, it just expect it and be ready for it. Just know that when you pull on that throttle a little bit, it's going to do that. It's going to hesitate, then it's going to go. That's just how this bike is. And you'll get used to it, and it'll become, you know, second nature. You won't even have to think about it, you know. And also be aware that when you're first learning and practicing, in the first and second gear, typically all bikes feel more intense, their acceleration and everything, when you're easing off that clutch and or excuse me, when you're easing on the throttle, it seems to be jerkier and not as smooth in the lower gears. That's just inherent of how a manual transmission works, as well as well, they tune these motorcycles from the factory because of, I guess, Euro emissions and stuff. They tune them to run lean in the lower RPMs where you're taking off, and that makes it kind of not run as smooth as it should. But yeah, that's my how-to video on just kind of learning to ease as far as taking off. I know I'm shifting stuff, obviously, you know, people should know, you know, you pull the clutch in to shift to another gear, clutch in gear, and then you don't just jump off the clutch when you shift. You kind of remember that friction zone, kind of ease off like you would when taking off, and it'll make for a smoother driving experience, or riding experience, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, that's all I got for you. Biker believer, like, subscribe, comment, tell me what your if someone else out there has good advice to help someone, especially in the Vulcan 650 particularly, and others, throw it out there, throw it in the comments. Help people out, help them learn to ride. I want to see more motorcyclers, more riders on the road. I want to, you know, I want to see motorcycles make a comeback. I want to see as many bikes on the road as cars. That would be pretty cool. Yeah, I'm off-roading, just kidding. Anyways, that's it, and I'm signing off. Peace.